that's the stuff that I had to work through and I had to push past and I had to be like, okay. And I asked myself, why do I keep doing this to myself? Why do I keep pushing the comfort zone so far every single time? I'm like, what is possessing me to do this? And so I would just get on stage and I'm just like, okay, we're just gonna do it. Like we're just gonna show up. And I remember the very first time that I stood up on stage and all of that previous, anxiety, it just completely left me. And I finally stood up there in front of people and I was comfortable. And I'm like, there's no other way to get there than by just doing it and continuing to experience the discomfort. I wish there was another way, but if there was, it wouldn't be as fun.
Hey, listeners, welcome to another episode of Light Beyond Limits, where we talk about the breakthroughs and stories that people have had with their limitations and the lessons that they learn from it. I have the utmost privilege as your host, Coach Willie, to bring to you today an amazing individual, Miss Diana Groesbeck. And Diana, you and I first met. It was at the end of last year during one of Marianne Hickman's events. And
Yep.
I remember that whenever I walk into a room, you can always spot a few individuals to where you're just like, I want to connect with that person. And you are one of those individuals for me.
Oh, thank you.
And so I want to share with these people some things that you are doing. Like Diana is a freaking powerhouse in the coaching industry. She's raising the bar from what it means to be a true professional. And as a founder of Elevated Coaching Academy, she equips coaches and leaders with ICF aligned, evidence based training, helping them build thriving practices and secure high impact roles with top organizations. And Diana's mission is simple: empower coaches to create real results and lead with excellence. Diana, thanks for being on with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, of course. I know my audience, as they all know. We want to hear about these stories. And obviously we want to hear about
Hmm.
the lessons in it and the breakthroughs. But it's so
Yeah.
important to always preface it with some of the background and the things that have been going on to then show us the big breakthrough with it all. So I'd simply want to ask, Diana, what is your story?
Thank you so much, Willie. And, with that, I'm like, well, geez, how much time do we have? Because we can go in so many different directions here. And there's a lot of pieces to my story. And first off, I have to thank you for the work that you're doing here, because I think that it's so important to emphasize what I think is really important here is behind any amount of success that anybody sees externally is just a mountain of failure and challenges and the stuff that just isn't pretty. And so I think that it'll be really just kind of fun to dig into that and get into the weeds. But in terms of my story, depending on what you want to hear, this is kind of what I was actually thinking about over the last couple of days is where I've come from and where I've gotten. And I'll just tell you a couple of pieces that have kind of come to my mind over the last little bit of what have my experiences been in my professional world. And it kind of stems back to the corporate world. So I came from the eye care industry. That's where all of my background is, before jumping into entrepreneurship. So I remember as a 21-year-old, I am working to climb that ladder, and I always saw myself as the young one, the one that had a hard time getting people to take me seriously and getting the opportunities that I wanted. And I remember this moment where I was hired to be an assistant manager of an optical company, and I went in on my day off to sign the paperwork. I was already hired. There was nobody that I had to impress, so I show up in my sweats without makeup. I go to sign the paperwork and I leave. And the employees were then asking the manager, "Hey, did you just hire a 15-year-old to manage us?" And so thus kind of started my battle in the corporate world in working my way up and getting people to take me seriously and managing employees and ones that were kind of challenging. And all the while, there's massive imposter syndrome. Right. But that's kind of one of the things that I worked through. And then at 25, becoming a general manager and interviewing and hiring people with more education than myself. And that was really, really tough, really difficult being the young female in a corporate world. And I think that there was a lot that I learned there that I took into entrepreneurship and I took into leadership and learning more about myself and kind of the perceived limits and being able to really work to push past those. But it wasn't easy. It was an uphill battle, I'd have to say. Um, and then, 5 years ago, we started Elevated Coaching Academy, and I think as any entrepreneur knows, it's definitely a battle. It's an uphill climb, and I think all the while I had these thoughts and ideas and limits that I placed on myself, and again, this imposter syndrome that sets in that I really had to work to push past. Um, and I think what I learned is that action kind of trumps all. Like when you just take action, despite the fear, despite all of the things that you're feeling about yourself, despite not feeling qualified or worthy or whatever it is, that can start to prove and it proved to myself that and built the evidence that I am worthy and that I do have what it takes. But man, it's been a journey, it's been a struggle, and we can dig into any of those struggles that you want to to address for sure. But that's just a little bit of my history.
Love it. It's amazing how imposter syndrome sneaks in. And it's not even that it
Yeah.
sneaks in, it's just whenever you start to achieve stuff, there's always two sides. There's the side of what other people think, which
Yeah.
that's where most people talk about. They talk about don't focus on them, don't worry about the judgment. They don't understand the goals or the missions or the things that are going on. Then there's the other side, which we don't necessarily talk as much because whoever wants to talk about themselves in a negative way, and it might not even be negative, but in a lesser strength way,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is the imposter syndrome side. I know that relates to a lot of people in my audience. So for you, as you've had to deal with imposter syndrome,
Mhm.
what did that feel like? And what are some things that helped you to either deal with it or overcome it in general?
Yeah. Well, and I think some of the thoughts behind it were I'm younger and less experienced than everyone, and who's going to take me seriously? And it felt like I had to be someone that I'm not. So what's so interesting is for a while I felt that for me to show up as a professional and for people to take me seriously, I had to act serious. And anybody that knows me on an intimate level knows that I am not a very serious person. I'm fun, I'm goofy, I wear workout clothes most of the time. And so I'm like, I feel like I have to show up, I have to dress the part, and I have to act stiff and professional and put myself in this box because I didn't think that anyone would take me seriously as myself. But what I started to learn is that I was way, way underestimating myself, not giving myself enough credit. And once I finally took the courage to step into who I was and show up as myself, I realized that I was inspiring. I did have something to share, and I got to do it in my own way and with my own personality. And really, it's so tough because the only way to get past that, to get past those thoughts and beliefs and that imposter syndrome, is really just to dive into it. It's really like you have to like experience it. You have to just keep pushing and you have to keep doing the things regardless of those feelings, those thoughts that creep in, because the more you do those things, the quieter those voices get. And this actually, I remember. So one example is so speaking on stage in front of people. It's really hard, and it's really hard when you're getting going and when you haven't really done it much and you don't have a lot of experience. And so I remember that feeling of speaking on stage in front of people and being like, I'm a massive fraud. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, who am I to be speaking to people? And that would happen every single time. And I would push past it. And let me tell, I mean, it was to the point where it's like the day before, I'm like so nervous, I can't eat. And so it's like, that's the stuff that I had to work through and I had to push past. And I had to be like, okay. And I asked myself, why do I keep doing this to myself? Why do I keep pushing the comfort zone so far every single time? I'm like, what is possessing me to do this? And so I would just get on stage and I'm just like, okay, we're just gonna do it. Like we're just gonna show up. And I remember the very first time that I stood up on stage and all of that previous, anxiety, it just completely left me. And I finally stood up there in front of people and I was comfortable. And I'm like, there's no other way to get there than by just doing it and continuing to experience the discomfort. I wish there was another way, but if there was, it wouldn't be as fun. So, that's really what I've experienced is that you just have to keep putting yourself in those places and taking action in order to build that confidence in yourself.
So when you just talked about when you're speaking, you get nervous, you can't eat and everything.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, whenever I'm going to speak on a stage, I don't mentally feel it. I feel like everything's fine. I can talk with people, but apparently my body goes into this fight
Mm,
or fight mode to where it
yeah.
just puts an immense like stress on my shoulders and
Yeah.
that, to which then I
Yeah.
give the speech and it's awesome. And then that night, I can't stay awake. My body finally releases all this
Oh,
tension.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I just need to go to bed. Is that kind of the same feeling you get?
Yes, it's almost like you mean like after the fact?
Yeah, after the fact.
Yes. Okay, so what used to happen is like, yeah, I would build up all of this like energy and anxiety. And then after an event happened, I just wanted to like curl up in my bed for a couple of days and almost like recover because it's like it's kind of like what Brene Brown talks about where she's like vulnerability hangover and you've put so much of yourself out there and it's so scary and then you're like okay, oh, I'm just going to wrap a warm blanket over myself and I'm just going to sit here for a couple of days. And every single time I was like, can I never do that again? Can I just never push myself to that? And then for some reason, it's like the possesses all of us to do more and to be greater. It would come back again. And I'm like, okay, no, I can't. I just can't play small, even though this is so uncomfortable. So yeah, it's like I just wanted to like sleep all day, and I'm like, okay, I just want to recover now. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, always
And
made
it's
like,
not as hard anymore, right? Because it's like you keep getting the experience. So I'm really proud of the progress that I've made.
yeah, that's the crazy thing. It's like it's like working out. It's like building your muscle. When you first start out doing it, I wanted to sleep for a couple days, but like now when I go up on
Yes.
stage and do it, now it's just like I might have
Yes.
like a little recovery period, but absolutely not the couple days that I took beforehand.
Exactly. Yes, I know exactly what that's like. Yes.
It's like
Uh,
our mind our minds are it's a very interesting concept I've been learning. Our minds do the things of which it needs to put the least amount of effort into.
yep.
And I feel like because of my dyslexia, I might have worded that wrong, but I'll explain it in a second.
That's great. I love it.
Our minds want to be comfortable. It doesn't want to overwork. It doesn't want to work more than it has to. So what it does is it
Yes.
creates habits. It creates divots in it to where the second,
Yeah.
third time where you do it, it's just easier to do it, and you go into more of a subconscious type action, you could say, forward. So when you go and work out, building your muscles, your first day might be sore for a week. Second time you go might be sore for a week. Third time might be sore for 5 days. But then over time, it starts
Yes.
getting less and less to where you can do those same workouts, but
Yeah.
recover a lot quicker. And our minds like to do that too, to where mentally we get those mental workouts going, and the more repetition that we get in, the more
Exactly.
reps that we put, the easier it is to recover
Oh.
afterwards.
Oh, such a good analogy. I love this. Yes, it's a growing your muscles just as you're growing yourself personally. I love that.
Yeah. To
Very
switch
cool.
topics, which is not really switching because we're going to jump into coaching as an expert coach of
Mm.
coaching. And I will call you the expert because I know that
Cool.
all of us who are of humility in this industry don't like to call ourselves the expert. So I'll say you're the expert because
All
you
right.
are. As
Thanks.
the expert and as you go out and experience with many coaches and through
Yeah.
the academy that you've built, what are some of the two things? First one is what are some of the hurdles that you see most coaches going through? And then
Mhm.
second, what is, let's just say one thing that activity or exercise that you do to help them overcome those hurdles?
Mm. Ooh, I love this because yeah, I was just talking with someone about this just the other day, and this is something that I talk about quite frequently. And really, it's kind of what I described as well with myself. It's building this belief in themselves that they have what it takes to help other people, that they have what it takes to inspire other people. And so again, it's this massive, imposter syndrome and the belief in themselves, whether it's the belief that they can make the money that they want to make in their business, but more often it's the belief that they can really have the impact that they want to make. And so here's one of the things that for me, this has probably been the biggest thing that I attribute to most of my success in life. And it's how I changed my inner dialogue because it's so automatic where we're just like, well, that was a failure, or I'm a failure because of this thing. I just embarrassed myself, or this thing that I made, it's not that good. And you're picking yourself apart. And a lot of us have are perfectionists or have been perfectionists. I'm a recovered perfectionist. I am very much not a perfectionist anymore, to be honest.
I'm a recovering perfectionist.
It's
Yeah.
like I'm not even in the recovering phase. I'm like past it to the point where I'm like, I'm so messy. It's just like I'm so accepting of everything being messy. And I love it. So my big motto is embracing the mess. But regardless, so here's what I do, and here's what I have recommended to so many coaches, and that's celebrating your wins. So I'll give coaches this challenge to every single day write down 10 wins from that day, because what happens is we go through our day to day, and most of us we're not accomplishing these huge things every single day, right? But it's usually when we accomplish these like big milestones, that's the only time we celebrate ourselves, if that. And so I'm like, find 10 things in every single day that you can celebrate about yourself, because here's the thing, that and it's no matter how big or how small, and it's really to this level. Like, as you know that I'm a mom of young kids, and so it's like this. If I get out of bed in the morning, if I do my workout, if I am able to take a shower, if I have makeup on, if I've done my hair, like that's already like 5 or 6 wins, right? Like all these like little things. But it's not just that, we just kind of like, okay, I'm going to check the box, so I'm just going to like document these little things, whatever. It's like we're actually celebrating those things. Like, you get out of bed and you put clothes on for the day, like you are a winner, and that's how you should celebrate yourself. And so I give this example as kind of a funny example, but to this degree, this is what I'm talking about. So there was one day where so my husband, he normally fills up the car with gas. I kind of just, wait. It just, the gas just gets in the car. I don't have to worry about it. If it's on empty, I know that it'll be filled up eventually, right? So, all right. So there was one day when I go and I fill the car up with gas, and I texted my husband. I was like, guess what I did today? I was like, I filled the car with gas, and like just completely celebrating myself, like I'm on top of the world, I am so
Yeah.
awesome, right? And then when I get home that day, he's like, yeah, how's your day? We're talking about it, and I'm like, should we go to dinner to celebrate my big accomplishment? And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I filled up the car with gas, like. And I just sat there, and I, obviously jokingly, but when we can do that to ourselves, and we can say, I did this big thing, and you make it a big thing, you celebrate these big things. But then every time you have a failure, right? What we would classify as a failure, you celebrate that because it's not about the outcome. It's about, wow, I did that. I pushed my comfort zone. It wasn't the result that I wanted. And I'm still going to pick myself up and I'm going to do this again and I'm going to keep trying. That's worth celebrating. So I reframed anything that I would classify as a failure into a win and a success. So it's almost like I could do no wrong. Whatever it is, I would find a way to celebrate it. Right. And that's what any successful person has to do. They have to redefine their definition of failure. So it's finding those wins and celebrating yourself for them. It's not just documenting like, okay, I guess I got dressed today. I guess I'll count that as a win. It's like really celebrating yourself for it. Like take yourself out to dinner, or whatever. So, yeah.
I don't get it. Why is it so hard to find
Yeah.
rewards for ourselves? In an
Yeah.
accountability group I'm with, we do when we set the goal for the week. And if we do the if we so we set the goal for the week. If we don't do the daily action for it, a consequence enacts. And we have to do that negative consequence. Then if we do everything during the whole week, we reward ourselves with whatever we put our reward as. But I've seen that over the year I've been with them, it's harder and harder to find rewards for ourselves
Mm.
in things that we can actually celebrate and do. So, do you have any recommendations of how we can find those rewards or be grateful or that kind of area?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's kind of like what will motivate each person, but what I've learned in psychology is that it's actually just the small rewards. Sometimes we think it has to be big, like, okay, well, now I've got to go out and buy myself that new shirt, that's the reward, or I've got to, go to dinner, or I have to spend like a large amount of money, when in reality, sometimes it's those little things. It's like a piece of chocolate. It's like, I'm going to sit down and
Mm.
rest. I'm going to, these little things, like what are those dopamine hits? I think, do you give yourself some just extra me time? Do you go and like take a bath? What I've learned is that just taking a bath is so rewarding. And I don't think we do this enough. Um, find those things where you can just relax and you can pamper yourself. And as a woman, it's like, of course, I love to pamper myself. I love to get massages. I love to, but it doesn't have to cost money. You can still just kind of pamper yourself and say, this is my me time. And it's also just about like how do you celebrate these big wins? It's like a lot of times we like to talk about it with family. We like to tell people. So sometimes that's it. It's like finding that person that you can like brag about yourself with, whether it's a best friend or a spouse. That's a huge way to celebrate, is being like, hey, look at what I did. And it could be so small. I remember a best friend of mine, we've worked on projects together. And I love the way that she celebrated me when I got into, she was really trying to get me onto the ClickUp platform and to put all my stuff in there. And I was just not being consistent with it. So as soon as I got in there and I started using the app, she's like, yeah, good job. High five. You're so awesome. And I'm like, all I did was downloaded this app and I added one thing. And she just like celebrated me. And I'm like, you know what? That's how we should talk to ourselves. That's how we should do it. So I started just really celebrating myself, being like, you are so awesome. You did this really small thing. So yeah, I think that's what it's about. Find those best friends that you can chat with.
Those best friends. Find those individuals who celebrate the small wins. I love
Yes.
that.
Yes. Yes. I
As
love
you
it.
were talking, it reminded me of a question of which I haven't really said in a while, but hits on something that I think is very important when it comes to entrepreneurship, which I want to ask you. I know I'm
Okay.
prefacing this being like, are
Love
you
it.
ready for it?
I'm ready.
It's what was the hardest trade you had to make
Mm.
that eventually was worth it?
Ooh. Hmm. Okay, so in my entrepreneurship journey, the hardest trade.
And I guess it doesn't even need to be in the entrepreneurship journey, just
Hmm.
in any area. What was the hardest
Ooh.
trade you made that eventually was worth it?
I'm sure I can talk about several. Um, okay. Okay, something just hit and it's gonna make me emotional. Okay, that's how I know when I've got my answer. But it's interesting, and there's something that I think I want to read that I just posted, or I just shared on social media. The hardest trade that I've had to make is trading my old self for a better version. And the reason why I get emotional is because of the pain and the struggle and the challenge and just everything that I've had to go through in order to be the person that I want to be. And that I think is always the biggest trade-off, the biggest sacrifice is sacrificing who you were for who you are now. And that means that there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of discomfort, there's a lot of shedding of the people that don't serve you. Um, there's, yeah, I think it's that. It's trading your comfortable self for a new version, an upgraded self. Um, do you mind if I read this thing that I
Please,
just shared
please.
that is it's so it just really, really struck a chord for me. And it's you think becoming your best self will feel powerful. It won't. It'll feel like dying. Growth isn't pretty. It's not smooth. It's a breakdown. It's a death of your old self on repeat. Just when you think you've gotten to where you want to be, you realize you still have so much further to go. And that's tough. You feel lost. You'll question everything. Some days you'll win and some days you'll lose, but that's the price of ambition. Transformation, expanding into your potential is painful. You have to tear down the walls of comfort, break the chains of what holds you back, and bet on your damn self. It's brutal, it's violent, but it's fucking glorious. It's worth it because on the other side of that death of the old you is who you could be. And so I think that's been the greatest trade-off.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That
Yeah.
don't make me cry. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
that's very powerful. Thank you for
Yeah.
the vulnerability first off, and thank you for sharing it. Because I think a
Thank
lot
you.
of a lot of the people who tune into the podcast and in the videos they watch and listen to, they struggle with, we've talked about imposter syndrome. They
Yeah.
struggle with, like, in their own story, how to break through. And
Yeah.
the reality of it is that your perfect self isn't going to be, or the journey per se isn't going to be
Yeah.
this awesome glorious thing that's going to make you feel so
Yeah.
empowered,
Yes.
but it's I don't want to use a certain word in case I get demonetized, so I'm not going to use that word, but like
Okay.
it's letting go of our old self and letting them be where they were in the past
Yeah.
to then build ourselves anew,
Yeah.
in which once we build ourselves, we can't, honestly can't be that emotionally attached to it because there's so
Yeah.
much more that we can get.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And just to give you some context, like of where I've come from, like my nature, I'm a very shy, quiet person. There was a lot of things that I had to overcome because I was also very easily intimidated by almost anyone. I would give anyone, much more authority than I had. We have a little visitor. um, and so it's there's so much that I've overcome that it's almost like I realized that I would just completely give all of my power away automatically to almost anyone. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
Sometimes I forget to lock the door. And this is what it's like to be a an entrepreneurial parent and working from home and,
Yeah, I
having
was
the
gonna
kids pop
say
in.
like my kids walked in the room a couple times and I've had to mute to like be like, okay,
Mm,
just
yeah.
almost we're getting there. Just need this time.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what, it's like, and now I'm to the point too where I'm like, most people understand and my kids are a part of me, my business is a part of me, and so I want to have it all. So yes,
And
that
that's the
happens.
beautiful thing of it, because when it comes to, as we're talking more about parenthood and entrepreneurship, I know back in the before we even hit record, you and I were talking about
Yeah.
there needs to be a certificate
Oh my
for
gosh, yes.
parents who are entrepreneurs, because juggling one, let alone both, is
Yeah.
incredibly um, rewarding
Yes.
and
Well, and
of challenge at times.
yeah, there's always ups and downs of any path that anybody chooses. And it's like, on this journey, I don't get maternity leave. I had a baby last year and I'm in bed with my baby just working on my business, right the week after I had a C-section. So there are a lot of challenges, but I also wouldn't trade this for anything.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always, I think it was Alex Ramosi who said it, that you get that, I don't know the words he used, but that motivation, awesome, I'm going to do this. This is great, seeing all the positives. Then you get into the valley of despair of,
Mm,
oh, there's also bad things with this. And most
yeah.
people then jump to the next shiny object to where after,
Yeah.
to where if you just continue to go through, you'll be like, I can accept the bad because I also want the great that comes from it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and you really do, like, you have to find a vision that pulls you, that is so powerful that you can get through all of the challenges and the ups and downs and everything that is thrown your way. And once you find that, you can withstand anyhow when you have a strong enough why.
It's true.
Yeah.
I want to ask you. So, I, do you know who Evan Carmichael is?
No, I don't think
Okay,
so.
he was so back in 2018, he was the first individual right next to Grant Cardone where it started my self-development journey, you could say. Found
Oh,
his
okay.
video on YouTube, Grant's video being like 5 ways to be a millionaire, and I fell
Oh,
in love
cool.
with it. And that's kind of where it started. But Evan Carmichael did
Mhm.
his like top 10 series, big YouTuber, and something that he I don't know if he came up with, but something that he lives by is what's called your one word why, which is your mission and your vision
Oh.
squished down into a single word.
Single
And
word.
it's something to
Interesting.
where it's motivated you and driven you in the past,
Mhm.
motivates you now, and 20, 40 years into the future, it's still going to be your one word why. I'm going to ask you, if you were to pick one word, what would it be? And as you're thinking about it, I want to share my one word,
Love to
which
hear it.
my one word is light.
Hmm.
And I've created an
Love that.
acronym to help describe it better, which is love, inspiration,
Oh,
gratitude, hope, and
oh,
then time, because that's truly all that we have.
oh my gosh, that's incredible. I love that. And my one word, I believe, would be freedom.
Hmm.
And it's creating freedom for myself and helping others create freedom for themselves.
Why is that so important to you?
I love to live life on my terms. And that's what freedom means to me, is that I own my life, I own my time, and that I get to do what I want. I get to choose. I think that's really what it is. There's more choice in that. There's more choice and freedom. And I know that on a deep level, that's what a lot of people are seeking, is freedom when we really boil it down. I think freedom and connection, freedom and love, I think are the two big things. But yeah, for me, I think It's kind of just who I am on a deep level. I'm a very spontaneous person. I really just love to create. I love to create life on my terms, and it's so enjoyable and so fulfilling. And there are still, there's a lot of challenges that come with this path, and there's a lot of challenges that come with, any other path. But
Yeah.
yeah, freedom.
Ah, freedom. I love that. And
Yeah.
if you were to take that and time travel back to your 18-year-old self, because a lot of my audience is
Love
in
this.
between 18 to 25 years old.
Oh,
If
cool.
you were to
Okay.
go back in time to when you were that age, what is one piece of advice you'd give yourself?
It really would be all around believing in myself to a greater degree. Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. No, I love it. Dana,
Mhm.
I appreciate you being with us, sharing your
Thank
experience, your
you.
heart, your vulnerability with us. I want our audience to be able to find you if they want to connect or if they want to follow what you're doing online. Where
Absolutely.
can they find you?
Yes. So, first off, website is elevatedcoachingacademy.com, where you can find out more about our coach training programs. On Instagram, I'm Diana G. Beck. And we also have an Elevated Coaching Academy Instagram and Facebook page. Find me on Facebook, Diana Groesbeck, as well. And thank you so much for having me on this. Thank you for allowing me to just share everything that I have and allowing me to be vulnerable and allowing the tears. I really appreciate you just kind of bringing that out of me. I really, really enjoy our conversation. So thank you.
Oh, I enjoy them too. And for everyone who's listening, those will be in the description for you guys, for each of you to find. Dana, I always do what I call the final question, which is
Okay.
something that if you've ever listened to the podcast Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett, I saw when he did it with I don't know the actor's name, but the character Dwight Schrute from The Office.
Oh,
When
okay.
he,
Yes,
when he was
yes.
interviewing him, he did this, and I thought it was fantastic, and I loved it, and I wanted to bring it on here. And so this final question is not from me, but it's from someone else who I interviewed. So they left you a question to answer, and then you'll be able to leave one for the next person I
Oh,
interview. But they
cool.
left a question for you, and as I pull it up, are you ready for it?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Imagine your future self 10 years from now. What are you most proud of, and what was the biggest obstacle you had to overcome?
Oh, I love this. Okay. So 10 years from now, the biggest accomplishment that I'm proud of. God, one of the first things that comes to my mind is my family. Um, and then just what I have been able to create with this business. Um, First off, even at this stage, I am so incredibly proud of myself. And so I'm like, no matter where this goes, I will be incredibly proud of where I end up. Um, so yeah, just my family and my business.
Awesome. Dana, thank you
Yeah.
again for joining us.
Thank you.
And that wraps this episode up of Light Beyond Limits. If you have found inspiration on this episode, go ahead and subscribe to our podcast. You can find us on all the major podcasting platforms, as well as you can go to our website, coachwillieblake.com, where you'll find the link to our podcast, link to our socials, and everything else going in the Achievers universe. Until next time, my friends, continue to light up the world, continue to be the best version of yourself, and always remember, go forward with your heart. Find out your why and start taking the small actions you need to every single day to get to where you need to go. We'll see you on the next episode of Light Beyond Limits.